My name is Donovan Meeks. My wife murdered my son, and I've just murdered my wife. Before providing them with an address. I sat and waited for what felt like mere moments before the sounds of police sirens came echoing from down the street, and my living room became illuminated with flashing red and blue lights. When the knocking started, I answered the door as calmly as could be and surrendered without a fight. Two police officers went inside the house to investigate and returned a few moments later with grim looks on their faces. One of them asked me what happened, and I explained it to them verbatim. The coroners arrived, and just as I was being taken away in a police car, I heard a paramedic scream from my front porch. "The boy's still alive, we need to get him to the ambulance now." I couldn't believe what I heard, and the sheer shock of the news snapped me out of my psychosis as I began to sob. Once again, I was sentenced to 20 years. A full life sentence was off the table due to what my lawyers defined as temporary insanity brought on by a traumatic event. That's where I spent these last 2 decades, rotting away in a cell forced to think about my actions. However, today was my release date, and I couldn't have been more thrilled to finally get out of my cage. My house had been completely paid off prior to my conviction, and I looked forward to finally being able to have a normal roof over my head again, even if it was the one that sheltered us when my family fell apart. Once my driver entered the neighborhood, I grew a little nervous when I noticed that there were 2 cars parked in my driveway. I got out of the car regardless, and when I knocked on the door, my son answered. The same son who refused to visit me. The son who acted like I didn't even exist. The son that I killed over and threw my life away for. He didn't even give me the time of day. He opened the door just enough to peek at me through a crack before slamming it shut and screaming for me to go away. I could hear what sounded to be a crying toddler from beyond the door, as well as hushed whispers between my son and his wife. I assume I felt that feeling come over me again. That boiling rage that took over when I killed my wife. I tried to stifle it, but I couldn't. I'd been through too much to be shut out by some little brat and his family. I began kicking the door as hard as I could until I could feel the hinges breaking with each blow. The baby's screams grew louder as my son and his wife begged me to stop, but I couldn't. With one final kick, the door fell off its hinges, and I was greeted face to face with a barrel of a gun. In my own home, held by my own son, who I had avenged all those years ago. He had the nerve to ask me to leave. I had the nerve to ask him what he was going to do with the rifle in his hand. In response, he cocked back the hammer and announced he was going to give me one more chance. I could see that his wife was on the phone with who I assumed was 911. I was going to jail regardless. I won't tell you what ensued, but I will tell you that my son's wife has an impeccable taste for tea, and enjoying it while I wait is absolutely remarkable, especially without the cries of that damned baby.